So I've been using Google Analytics now for over 12 years. And today, most of my work is actually centered around it. I really like Google Analytics, and although it has some drawbacks, I actually kind of like GA4 too. But the real reason that I use Google Analytics is because it's the default solution. Everyone uses it. And I really like using the default solution because it has so many advantages. For instance, if I move to another company, if I move to another project, if I get another assignment, the knowledge and experience that I have in Google Analytics, I can bring that with me to my new situation. Also, if I want to bring in an agency or some outside contractor, they will probably want access to Google Analytics because that's what they're using for their reporting. And also connectivity. If you want to connect your data to some kind of tool, it will probably be there because Google Analytics is the default solution. And also really like how Google Analytics is at the forefront of using machine learning and algorithms to fill in like holes that exist in our data. But using Google Analytics also has some drawbacks. For instance, the learning curve of Google Analytics is quite steep. I mean, it's worth it. You get used to it, especially if you use it, for instance, weekly, you use it more often. It's really worth learning GA. But for the users that use it really lightly, probably if you learn it today, you use it one time and next year you open it up, things will probably be changed dramatically. And sometimes I wonder, is Google Analytics overkill in those situations? If you only need visitor count, if you only need like what pages are people viewing, if you only need some traffic sources, like very light usage, GA might be overkill. And also legislation. So in some countries using Google Analytics is forbidden, and if legislation forces you to move GA after consent, so you only can track the users that actually give consent on your site, your data is compromised drastically. And I know there is consent mode, I know there are modeling techniques that kind of let you model the data based off the existing data. So you have some kind of estimate of like what are the users, what are the conversion on your site. In those situations, I would really like to have some kind of actually measured data and not only estimates from GA. I think competition is healthy. If there are options, competitors can actually drive each other to become better. So I think it would be healthy to broaden my view a bit. To be very honest, I do not have a lot of experience with other tools. I mainly work in GA, so my focus is really tight. I have a lot of deep knowledge on GA, but not much elsewhere. And today that's gonna change. I'm gonna try out Piwik Pro for the first time. I've installed it maybe over a year ago on my site so I could gather some historical data, but aside from that, I haven't looked at it much. So today that's gonna change. I hope it's helpful for you to decide if it's something for you. Let's dive in. So we're at the Piwik Pro site. Let's just take a look. What does it cost? So I'm gonna go into pricing. So Piwik Pro has two plans. It has a core plan which is free, and it has an enterprise plan which is paid. The core plan is free up to 500,000 monthly actions. So an action is probably page views, but also your event tracking. So let's say if you have 100,000 monthly users and those users all have 5 actions, 5 pages, that will be too much for the free plan. I think it would be wise to use the core plan under 50,000 users. Every user can visit 10 pages, and then if you have some light event tracking, you'll be fine. But the core plan will be suited for smaller sites only. If you become too large, you will need the enterprise plan. I've actually been in contact with someone from Piwik Pro in the past, and they've told me their pricing. I think it's best if you just contact them directly, but think about prices like a couple of €100 per month for the enterprise plan. You will probably be a bigger site anyway, so I don't see why you shouldn't pay those amounts of money. I mean, everything costs money. Even if you want to set up GA, will cost a lot of money. Just so you know, the core plan, you can use it free on smaller sites, which is really nice, I think. And then you get analytics, you get a tag manager, and you get also content manager, so you could use the Cookiebanner. I'm just using analytics, so on tag manager. So this is how I've set it up in Google Tag Manager. I've just used the custom HTML and I've pasted in the tracking code. I believe I did that because I've also installed Matomo. And if you want to use those alongside of each other, you need to make a small adjustment so they don't conflict together. Because in the past, both Matomo and Piwik Pro were one product. They've split up. I think the basic tracking code is the same. So that's why I'm using this. Maybe in Google Tag Manager, if you would look in the template gallery, you probably would find Piwik Pro Analytics here also. Yeah, there you go. Oh, see, I've actually already added it. Again, the reason I'm using custom HTML and this tracking code is because I'm using Piwik Pro and Matomo alongside of each other. But if you would use the custom template, you would need to put in your instance URL, which is, I believe, the URL that your account is on. So I'm at deonkorteweg.piwikpro. So this is my instance URL. And then site or app ID, you probably looked that up, analytics domains. And then it would collect your data automatically. So I'm logging in. What I see here is some kind of dashboard. So paid media dashboard. It's counting from the 1st of January. Well, let's go to the current month. June. Apply. No paid media, of course. Marketing performance, visitor session, page views, bounce rates, SEO. SEO visits over time. Entry URL. Nice. And what if I want to add the dashboard? So test. All users. Oh, all sites. Oh, available on all sites. Okay. Add a widget. So counter. Whoa. Okay. Users. Here. Okay. Users. Oh, here. I need to drop it here. Oh, and then it gives me a preview. I have 0 users for the last 7 days when it's available. I have 0 users. Why do I have 0 users? Visitors. Did I just pick the wrong edit? Visitors. I picked the wrong metric. Save widget. Learning another program is probably relearning some of the metrics and dimensions. So what about line charts? Yeah, of course, by date. Visitors, again. How many visitors do I have? Oh, nice. And then I can probably drag it here. Can I make it bigger? So far so good, I really like it. Add a widget. I did set up some goals. I don't really remember if it's still working, but maybe let's try to make another counter and say goal conversions. I do not have so many conversions on my site, so that could be, well, here it shows me 3. And now if I want to know what goals I'm looking at, unique goal conversions, this is nice. Goal conversion rate, show metric name, trend, sparkline, that's nice. I see goal name here, so perhaps I can, oh nice. It pre-fills them for me, so I do not know what the name is. I need to edit the header. Goal name is contact, so I'm just gonna say contact here, save widget. And I could do the same for goal conversions. Goal name is training, which is aanvraag means request. So add a widget. I want the current year. Really nice. I really like, and how about bar charts? So visitors and by source medium. Yeah, of course. Filter, no, I want it not as a filter. So making a dashboard is really easy. Way easier than in GA. I really like how this is set up. And I already see some segmentation here also. So all visitors, mobile users. I could really easily see this data just for the mobile users only, for instance. Not really useful in this scenario. I just want to see it for everyone. That's really nice also. Let's look a little deeper. Reports. So one thing I'm noticing is how quick the interface loads. If I'm switching to a report, it feels really fast. I really like that. Ooh, session log. So I see IP addresses. I see them anonymized, but still an IP address. That you would never see something like an IP address in Google Analytics. But it could be useful if you want to filter out a certain IP address. I don't know why they do that, but and the visitor ID, cookie ID. So that's really interesting. You see on a session basis, you see what people are doing on your site. 30-minute delay. Tracker debugger. So let's see what happens if I open up my site. Does my visit here show up? perhaps need to refresh it. So let's go to some kind of like page that nobody looks at. Refresh. Yeah, privacy and cookies. So this is actually my session. This is really useful for if you're making or if you're setting up your account and you want to test, like if I click here, does my event actually come through? I believe this is kind of a debug mode, but then in Piwik Pro. The thing that I really like is you do not need some kind of debug flag on your traffic. It just shows up in this report, and I really like that. So let's go into reports, audience overview. So this is already like really nice. Sometimes you just want to go in and see how many visitors. You do not need to do something. It's just here, group by day. That's not group by month. I really like this. This is not so easy in GA4. Session log, devices and software. Let's go into channels. I want to know the traffic sources. So plot series, yeah, visitors. So visitors is probably the word that we're used to, the word users. I think it's called visitors here. And then you have sessions. Channel is probably some kind of channel group. So direct entry, search engine, website, and then goal conversions. I can do a drill down. That's fantastic. So let's go into search engine so I can see what search engines are there. And then main. Can I change the first? Oh, here, source medium. I cannot do a drill down. I can do another column, probably some kind of secondary dimension. So let's try landing page. No, previous page. Ooh, next page. Great. It feels so familiar to see previous page and next page. Those were things that I really liked from Universal Analytics, the previous version of Google Analytics. GA4 doesn't have these, but Piwik has them. But landing page, or maybe URL, refer URL, no. Session entry. Oh, and then you can see the URL, but you can also just see the path. I'm wondering if this is slow because I'm recording and browsing at the same time, because I had some issues with my internet connection as well, or if it's just Piwik, because it used to be very fast up to this point, but maybe it needs to calculate something because it says that it's in the queue. Okay, let's go back. Let's make it a little shorter, just the last 30 days, probably easier to calculate. So let's say search engine, and what if I want to have the URL, the session entry URL. I think that's the landing page. Yeah, so you see the full URL, but you have also the session entry path, and then you just see the path without query parameters, domain and path. So this is really nice. So you have options. So you have some kind of device category, maybe device type. Yeah, desktop, smartphone. There you go. So search engines. So this is probably just a filtered report of the channels. Google Search Console. I haven't integrated this yet, but nice that it's here. Google Ads integration. Pages. So for some reason I see a Google domain, AppSpot here. I don't know why it's there. Server-side tracking. Yeah, so it's just the top pages. Let's go. Outlinks. Okay. So where do people click from my site to some other site? Usually in traditional programs you would need some kind of event tracking to set this up, but apparently Piwik Pro already tracks outgoing clicks. GA4 does this also, but what GA4 doesn't do is make a report around it. So it does track it, but it doesn't make a report for you, which is, I think, that could be improved over there. Here we have a download report. I know I have one download, so maybe if I say the whole year, yeah, I see that it's a legal document, terms and conditions that people are downloading. Not so much, but every once in a while. And again, GA4 does track downloads, but it doesn't create a report around it. And here you have both. It tracks it automatically and it also creates a report. I really like it. Heatmap. Oh, you're kidding. Now I'm going too fast. It does say something and I want to know what it said. Heatmaps are great when you're curious, when people click on the page to collect heatmap data, install and set up our site inspector. Oh, so I get a site inspector and then I can view where people click on the site. Well, let's try it. So it's here. I'm just gonna pin it so it's immediately over here. And let's see, maybe I can just go into my homepage, for instance, and then enable this. I need to log in, of course. Okay, heat map. Well, June is not so long, so let's go from 1st of January. Load overlays. It doesn't work. I don't know, maybe refresh it. That always works. For some reason my heat map doesn't work. I do not know why. Well, let's move on. If this does what I think it does, I really like it. Usually you would need another program, for instance Hotjar or some other tool to create heat maps and click maps. If it's included in Piwik, that's awesome. Okay, conversion attribution. Yeah, let's skip that for now. Page timings, web performance. That's nice. Video analytics. I do not have videos, but it's same thing here. So GA4 does track videos, but at the moment of recording this, you do not have good reporting around it, and Piwik includes that. So that's nice. Oh, and here you have your custom reports. You do not have landing pages here, but if you want it, you can make a custom. Oh, I did this. I set up in September, so I kind of fiddled around a bit. I see here. I do not even remember making this report. Session entry, URL, source medium, goals. Yeah, so I have 2 goals, contact form and training request and invitation to come in for a training session. So you can set it up here. So if I add a goal, track goal automatically, visit page with URL, a thank you page. You can set up an event or a file download. And what's manually? Don't know what this is. Anyways, how about event tracking? Do we have events? Event. Custom events. Yeah, there's a report. Oh, I already set up some events. Nav click. I don't remember setting this up. Nav click. Oh, I see. I send it to Matomo and I send it to Piwik. So here I see custom events. This looks really familiar as well from Universal Analytics event category. And if I go, yeah, an event action. So people click on blog, for instance, and then event name. So you have a category, an action, and an event name. So how about e-commerce? Is there some kind of e-commerce reporting? Let's Google it. So what does it look like? So you probably need to do some custom coding. Is there something in the template that lets you do this from Google Tag Manager? It would be awesome if you could, perhaps, if it could look for a data layer and then kind of map it to Piwik Pro. Don't see it. I also don't see how you could make event tracking from here. So discard changes, because I did event tracking, yeah, it's here. I did it via some code. Of course, this is not so bad, but it would be nice to have an event tag that you could use to send in events into Piwik Pro. It doesn't have that. Of course, you have your own tag manager in Piwik also. I'm not going to look into that, but perhaps that has some better integration for event tracking. Yeah, oh, I was looking at e-commerce. There you go. Was distracted for a while, sorry. So view a product, product details, click product, add to cart, remove from cart. So I miss a view product page. Yeah, and it's all like JavaScript code. So you need to make a custom code, like a hard-coded implementation, or you would copy this into Google Tag Manager and take the information from the data layer and put it here. I'm wondering where I would see this data. No, I don't see where are the reports. Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong place. Yeah, so I need to enable them. So under administration, reports, menu, administration, probably this side, reports, show e-commerce. There you go. So I need to enable it. Oh, it also has SharePoint reports. Oh, I'm glad I don't have SharePoint. Analytics, e-commerce, there you go. So you have your own dedicated e-commerce section. Landing pages, campaigns. Of course I don't have a shop. It's just so common to track shops, so I'm really curious. So you have some audience reports, orders, products, customer loyalty, days and sessions. It would be interesting if you would have some demo accounts. You could see like a report filled in, like you have with Google Analytics. You have a demo, the demo store. It's really nice to keep that as a reference. So lastly, I want to take a look at Tag Manager. What if you would use the Tag Manager from Piwik Pro? I'm doing this because I'm just curious. You have tags, triggers, variables, meta setup. Okay, so you can do some bulk changes to the sites. That's really nice. I can add a tag here. So custom code, custom content. So I can include content as well. Custom dimension, custom event. So this is really targeted at Piwik events, I think. So if you use Piwik on your own, so you only use Piwik, you do not have other platforms, this would be a great solution. You just put the Piwik tag on your page, and then from that tag you can add event tracking, etc. And you could, by the way, use custom code to load your Google Ads tags or anything. Video tracking, so you have some templates here. So Google Ads retargeting, Google Ads conversion. Let's look at how this looks like. So async, and then I need to say next. By the way, you can make a synchronized tag. So this removes flickering. So if you use A/B testing and you include that tag via Tag Manager, usually you would get flickering because the page is loading while Tag Manager is loading all the tags, which means that if you're loading like some kind of A/B test, it will load the original page first, and then just 100 milliseconds after that, it will all of a sudden load the test, which will kind of flicker between the original and the test. There's no way around it in Google Tag Manager, but here all of a sudden I see the synchronized tags. So usually you would never include A/B testing software via Tag Manager because of that reason. And here you can do that. I really like that. That's awesome. But let's go for some kind of template. I'm curious for Google Ads conversion tracking. Next, conversion ID, conversion label. Oh, you have some variables also. That's good. Conversion value. So this really looks familiar. It's the same in Google Tag Manager. Flight dates. So if your campaign is set up in flights, so it's only active in a certain date range. The thing that's always happening in Google Tag Manager is that people put tags on and then don't remove it when it's ready. And here you just have a start date and end date, and then it runs on those times. I think that's really clever. And then triggers, yeah, this is what you would expect. So page view, you could put it on a click. So I assume I can set it up in next, on all clicks, conditions, add condition. So click elements. This looks really good. And let's go back. Let's say page view, form submission, timer, page leave, page scroll, history change. Yeah, it's all looks very familiar to Google Tag Manager, but then with some clever additions. So I'm gonna discard this tag. Let's go into variables. So custom JavaScript, yeah, of course. So I could, for instance, load the value of some element. So this is useful for scraping or calculating or things like that. I could do a constant variable, that's nice. I could load a cookie. Data layer, I like this. This is also useful for scraping. A lookup table, of course. If we would compare this to Google Tag Manager, there probably would be some differences, but out of the box, this looks really complete to me. Maybe some regex lookup table, a random number. Can you use variable templates? No, can't do that. So you need to work around for that. So one example of a variable template that I use pretty often, it's event ID. Yeah, this one, event ID. I use this for if I want to track events into the conversions API. You're sending them in twice via client side, via server side, and then you want to duplicate it based on some kind of event ID. So I use this for that. You probably would need to find workarounds for those situations, but it looks really good. Does it have server side, some kind of server side tracking? So okay, it can perhaps work with Google Tag Manager server side. So you have a template for that. That's really nice. That's good, but you do not have so from the Tag Manager you don't have server-side tracking. So we're back in Tag Manager, then you have also your Consent Manager, which is I think just a Cookiebanner. Consent forms, privacy policy. So usually you would have either people that are building the site are making some kind of Cookiebanner, or you would need to purchase something, for instance Cookiebot. This already has it integrated. So core plan, Tag Manager consent, yeah, it is included. And how does Piwik handle multiple sites? Let's go into administration. Can we make some kind of roll-up reporting? No, don't think so. So I have two sites on here. Measure scroll depth. Search engine, I don't have search engine. So you have your UTM tags. You could come up with custom UTM parameters, filters, really easy, much easier than the steps you need to take in GA4 right now. Don't collect from non-crawlers. I do think, by the way, I have some visitors from crawlers because I have a lot of visitors from Russia. They don't speak Dutch, so I think I still get some crawlers even though this setting is on. Ooh, track page views in a single page application. GA4 does this as well, but it's really nice that it's there. If your site is built in React or another JavaScript framework, you could enable this feature and it will automatically track all the page views, even though there's not a physical reload of the page. Alright, privacy, ask visitors from consent. When visitors don't consent, collect the data using a 30-minute cookie. So you won't recognize new and returning visitors. Ask for consent only in countries under GDPR. Consent is valid for 12 months. Share consent between subdomains. I don't know what this is. Don't collect visitors' device data. So if you're collecting a lot of device data, for instance, screen resolution, browser, things like that, you have a lot of fields, and I believe it would be possible to create some kind of fingerprint out of those information. So even though you're not using cookies, you could still recognize users based on all the things that you know and record from them. And this would prevent that. To me, browsers and screen resolution, not screen resolution so much, but what kind of devices are people using, that's really important information to me, so I'm gonna leave that on. I could mask IP addresses, and this is mandatory under GDPR because IP addresses are personal identifiable information under GDPR. At least that's what it is in Holland. So that's why I enabled mask IP addresses. So my IP address is like this, and masking it will turn the last digit into a 0, which makes it impossible to link the visit to a specific location or address on the map. I just have global settings, so probably there are some global settings as well. So it just uses those. So let's go back into the privacy. Then you have reports. So I have show e-commerce reports. I already saw that. Permissions. So I can add users to my, that's great. Oh, here, basic container. This is if I want to use Tag Manager. Hey, are you looking for demo data? Menu, choose analytics. So analytics. And then here. So there is probably some kind of demo site, but I don't know where it is. Let's go Piwik Pro demo site. False alarm, I don't know. Let's go back. So we are still in administration. And then I also have some meta sites and apps. So I don't know what this means. Users. Okay, so you can invite other people, great. Groups. I also don't know what this means. And then settings, global settings. Remove keyword parameters. Campaign parameters, this is what I usually remove. For instance, the Facebook click IDs, but that's not it, I think. Keep anchors in page URLs. All right, so you usually, at least in GA4, you would not see if people have a URL with this sign in it. So for instance, if people click on a link that links to a section further down on the page, you would get an anchor link, and those things don't show up in GA4, but they show up in Piwik. That's nice. Opt-out form. Oh, so you can copy this and then make an opt-out form. That's nice. Let's go into subscription. So here's the subscription, and then if I want to upgrade, I go into here. Oh, here you see the price. 1 million actions per month, 325 per month, 2 million actions per month. Yeah, for a regular organization, if you're making a little bit of money, this shouldn't be a problem. If you're spending money on ads, if you're spending money on an agency, I don't find this very shocking, these kinds of amounts. Alright, I'm gonna close off this video. I hope this was useful for you. I understand this was a little bit rambling. For me, it was just going through the interface, discovering what Piwik Pro has to offer. I haven't applied Piwik Pro to every single situation in the same way that I have worked with GA4 in the last couple of years. But my first impression is very good. I really like the way it is so easy to make, for instance, a dashboard. It's really easy and straightforward to look up the basic information. I think the learning curve will be a lot lower on Piwik Pro compared to GA4. Also, I really like that it already contains a tag manager and it already contains some kind of consent mode. I really like that it contains a Cookiebanner, so it's all integrated. So you have one solution for all those different applications. And the thing that I also really like is that the interface is really fast. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope it was clear. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Also, please click like and subscribe to the channel. That really helps me get this channel off the ground. That's it for today. Have a great day and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.